Good evening, everybody. We start with prayer by Anuvrata. Please remain seated. Ya kundendu तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्र वस्तावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा सरस्वती भगवती निशेषजाड्यापः सरसिज भवजाये सरसिज भवजाये सरसिज भवजाये सरसिज भवजाये सरसिज भवजाये सरसिज भवजाये सरस्वती नमोस्तुते सरसिज भवजाये सरस्वती नमोस्तुते सर्वदा सदा पदारविन्दं भजाम्यहं सरसिज भवजाये सरस्वती नमोस्तुते सर्वदा सदा पदारविन्दं भजाम्यहं सरसिज भवजाये परमुदाकरं देहि परमुदाकरं देहि परिपाहि परमुदाकरं देहि देवी परिपाहि परादि भारती संविदायिनी परादि भारती संविदायिनी सनातनी सरसिज भवजाये सरस्वती नमोस्तुते सर्वदा सदा पदारविन्दं भजाम्यहं सरसिज भवजाये शरदिन्दुमुखी सुमुखी आनलम्बा
वरमित चतुर्मुख सनन्दनादि संस्तुत विभवे शरदिन्दुमुखी सुमुखी आनलम्ब वरमित चतुर्मुख सनन्दनादि संस्तुत विभवे करवरधृतवीणा सहिते सुजनहिते करवरधृतवीणा सहिते सुजनहिते कामितफलदे मितफलदे कल्पलते सुलभे कामितफलदे मितफलदे कल्पलते सुलभे सरसिजववचाये सरस्वती नमोस्तुते सर्वदा सदा पदार विन्दो भजाम्यहं सरसिज भवजाये
Thank you, Anu, for that melodious prayer. Now I invite all the dignitaries to come to the stage. Rajesh, please come and help. Take your time. Good evening to everybody. Shri Narayanan, Shri Gopal Gandhi, Shri Alexander, Shri Sivanandhan, Shri Chari, Shri Ramadure, and all our good friends who have responded to our invitation. Raghavan, Rajesh, and I are overwhelmed by your affection. We warmly welcome you to this function, convened to announce the release of Raghavan's fourth book. Raghavan's passion to write is probably unrivaled considering his age. What has been a loss to the family in terms of quality time spent with us is perhaps a gain for police literature. To Raghavan, friends mean a lot. Today's gathering proves that friends have been the source of his energy and enthusiasm. Several thoughts cross my mind as I stand before you. A few months before Raghavan and we complete our Diamond Jubilee, that will be in July this year. Unfazed by several tumultuous events, we have stood together to meet many challenges. But these have not deterred us from helping those who have approached us for counsel and help. I have tried my best to ensure that Raghavan is able to pursue his writing interests. Of course, I've complained at times. But before that, I would like to read out messages received from 3 of Raghavan's batchmates. Message from Alladi Ravi, former Home Secretary of Andhra Pradesh and a batchmate of Raghavan. I first met Raghavan about 60 years ago in the Saturday evening club at Madras, an informal club in which a group of about 20 or 30 young students exchanged ideas. Raghavan and I were both selected for the Indian Police Service in 1963. We went to Mount Abu to receive training, the Central Police Training College, known as Constant Physical Torture College. When officers are put together and made to undergo strenuous physical training for a period of about 12 months, a special bond develops between them, a camaraderie that lasts a lifetime. Even though we parted ways at Mount Abu, we kept in constant touch, as I used to go to Madras quite often. As the director of the CBI, he investigated many sensational cases with great skill and thoroughness. Under his command, the agency acquired credibility, respect, and an enviable reputation. As an intelligence officer at the headquarters in Delhi as well as in Chennai, he made a name for himself. Permit me to refer to his knowledge of criminology and jurisprudence. I can say without fear of contradiction that he is the only officer in our country who has studied the police systems in different countries of the world, particularly the United States and Britain. His association with Cambridge University, Temple University, Philadelphia, Rutgers, and Harvard in the United States have given him a certain broad perspective and modern ideas which no other officer in the entire country possesses. Now, this is from Ravi. Raghavan's modesty, despite such unrivaled achievements, his willingness to help any officer who approaches him with some problem, his easy charm and kind nature have won him many friends all over the world. His passion for cricket and his interest in Carnatic music reveals his multifaceted personality. And this is from another batchmate, a very dear friend, Nikhil Kumar. I met Raghu in July 1963 for the foundational course. At first sight, Raghu appeared more an academic, especially since he had topped the IPS list, than as a macho IPS probationer. The first test came in the riding class, where the studious Iyengar from Madras came face to face with Naval Singh, our riding instructor, with rugged methods, and so on and so forth. Career-wise, he distinguished himself in the IB and was expected to finish as the director of the IB, regarded as the topmost cop in the country, but his affection for his family, especially his only child, persuaded him to opt out of the IB and return to his state. And after an eventful time, he left to become the director of the CBI. Throughout his busy time as an upper crust IPS officer, he found time to write well-researched, informative articles for different magazines and newspapers. He was chosen by the Government of India to be the High Commissioner of Cyprus. His batchmates have been very, very generous. And this is a message from Satish Sani, from former Mumbai Police Commissioner and an IPS batchmate of Raghavan. Heartiest congratulations on the publication of your 4th book. Your knowledge and understanding of the criminal justice system of various countries is remarkable. Your travels abroad have given you insights on the subject generally not known. Your forthcoming book on criminal justice, I am sure, will be extremely useful to everyone concerned with criminal justice. So his friends, of course, have been very generous in their praise, and I pray God that all your good wishes will be with us at this stage in our life, when I hope now Raghavan will return to show a little more attention on the home front. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. I now hand over the stage to Raghavan to tell us, to tell all of us what the book stands for and why he poured his heart into producing it. And I take a little credit for sharing all my time with him in the production of this book.
First of all, very good evening to all of you who have thronged this auditorium, an index of your affection and regard for me. I'm extremely happy that so many of my friends have come here at my short notice invitation to savor this evening. That's an index of the affection they have shown to me and Shanti. Yes, why did I write this book? Yeah, for a change, I thought I'll speak extempore. I tried to draft my speech. I gave up halfway because I just didn't have the time. Our chief guest already arrived here, so I had to take care of him. So I didn't write out the speech. In a way, it's good. Extempore speeches are better, more authentic, more sincere. So, I was writing for the Hindu, morally easier. I enjoyed the hospitality of Hindu for several years, especially in the front line, for which I wrote 2 art pieces every month, which means 240 pieces, 24 pieces per year, and then 10 years, 240 pieces. So I didn't want that, because every article in Frontline took a heavy toll of my time, and Shanti used to complain that you are tense as when the time approaches for you to send a column, which is correct, because you can't be frivolous, you can't be flippant, you have to check every fact and then work on it and make it a logical piece. So I was flattered. Wherever I went, I was known more as a frontline columnist rather than a former director CBI. I remember once when I was visiting Srinagar, one of the immigration chaps, he came rushing to me, "Sir, aren't you Raghavan? I used to read you every week, every fortnight." And a lot of people, other people came and met me, saying that you helped me to clear the All India Services examination because you're so informative and your facts are accurate. So that gave me a lot of strength, and that I did for 10 years, and I couldn't complain. I couldn't complain that I was told that enough is enough, so I had to migrate to other newspapers, but still I hold the Hindu in high esteem. They still entertain me whenever I want to write something meaningful. Hindu has been so good to me, and I can never forget the foundation that they laid for me to write more and more. Then I've been writing for Hindustan Times and a few others. I mean, it's partly ego. I mean, I would like to admit that I would like to see my name in print every fortnight. That's what Shanti always complained. You are so egoistic, you want to... So, but then I also had a feeling that a lot of younger elements who were preparing for the IAS, IPS, or who are otherwise already in the service, they used to come and compliment me, but they didn't have to. They are not people who worked under me. Naturally, they have to praise me, but they are people, total strangers, and others who just cross their paths once in a while. They used to admire my front line. So it gave me a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of verve in wanting to write. And that gave me that. And a few years ago, when I was in Cyprus, I was wondering as to what I do with all these articles, which contain real facts and some good analysis, but still, so I don't know what to do because time is catching up, and I don't know how long I'm going to be around. But after that time, I don't think either Shanti or Rajesh will be interested in reading what I wrote. I thought it should be a sheer waste of energy, and all the articles should come in one place. That's my idea in writing this book. And so what I have done in this volume for information is that I've chosen some of the articles out of 240, chose a few that explains the bulk of this requires a real heavyweight person to carry this. So I chose and weeded out many, then a few articles from Hindustan Times, from DNA, Business Line, all this put together. Not a very logical arrangement, but I had to do this in short time because I was living in borrowed time. I'm going to be 83 in April, and she's not very much younger. She's about 80, 81. She'll admonish me back home, saying, "Why did you reveal my age?" But you can't hide your age too long. So once upon a time, I used to feel a little shy of admitting that I was in the 80s. Now I'm very relaxed, and I know how old I am. And so every day is on borrowed time. So I wanted to hasten, and Rajesh was visiting us very shortly. So I said, I must put down these, because it's not merely reproduction of the articles. We have to make some sense. I have to write an introduction to every subject. This book contains articles under various heads like law and order, police organization, crime, cyber crime, and then terrorism, about 5 or 6 heads. And they have to group these articles under each head, then to do a lot of introspection to ensure that they are logically arranged. I had to write a summary for each subject. That is a hard task. I mean, the articles contained in the volume were written over a course of 30 years. Now I had to condense them in 1 month. I did a reasonable job. I could have done a much better job of summarizing about each chapter, but time is not in my favor. And Rajesh was visiting us fleetingly, just for a few days. I wanted to do this when he is around. So that is how this volume has come. And I must compliment my printer, who is here. He doesn't want to, he is so modest, he doesn't want to be recognized. He is Divakar, and I must please, where is Divakar? Yeah. I mean, I don't know, I can't flatter him enough, and he's so good, so unfazing, and I've troubled him so many times. I mean, all the time calling him and checking on various facts, but he didn't give any room for any complaint or any clarification. He did such a thorough job, and but for his, honestly, this is not a customary compliment to a friend. I'd got to know very recently. I must thank Mr. Chari for having put me on to him. Ever since then, great friendship. I started with visiting cards, letterheads. Now I've graduated into books. Amazing production. The quality is unbelievable, and the rapport which he establishes with you. And fortunately, I live here, and he has his business premises in Gopalapuram, a 5-10 minute drive. I had to resist my temptation to go to him too often. So normally I used to trouble him only on phone. He's done a wonderful job. We sat together for a while. Whatever I said, he understood. The point is, his comprehension was so good that I didn't have to labor a point. And so I produced the book in such a short time, so beautiful. Only thing is, in my anxiety to use every article I wrote, this has become a very bulky volume, so you have to be a heavyweight to lift this. So what we have thought is to divide it into 2 volumes. A difference of opinion on that. And I possibly will ultimately opt for 2 volumes. I have to arrange them logically so that it can be easily read. And that probably will take some time, probably in a week or 10 days. Then it will appear on Amazon. Unfortunately, we got only a few copies for perusal, not complete. We have to do some more editing and some more shifting of material from one place to another. My anxiety was that it should be, this function should be held when Rajesh is around from London. So God has been kind and allowed me to do this. And so I'm hoping that this volume, there is no commercial aspect to it, I can assure you. And there's no publisher. It's only my printer Divakar and me. We have carried the burden. And I'm hoping that I'd be able to logically arrange the material so that it becomes more readable. It'll become a good reference book in course of time, because it dates back to 1990. Although I wrote the articles only from 2001, but I've gone back in history and culled out a lot of material, which was a hard labor, but I survived all that exertion, and I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to circulate. As Divakar has said, once you agree on what to do, it's a question of time before he puts it on Amazon, and he is always true to his word. I'm sure he will succeed in that also. I must again thank you for having attended this function. Although Shanti had her own reservations, I thought it would be a small function. We are enlarging every year, but because my friends are growing, I can't help it. My friends mean so much. Nothing else in my life matters, and possibly that's because of friends. I lived up to 83. In April, I'm 83. So nothing gives you greater joy than interacting with friends. She's been complaining that, why should you go to MCC every evening? I have no logical answer, because I grow younger every day I go. So many of my friends are here. They're so fond of me. We have, incidentally, I can let you have a secret, every Saturday we meet in MCC, almost every Saturday. We discuss all the scandals in the city, and no holds barred, but luckily it's not recorded. I hope it's not recorded. So, no, we don't spare any personality, and so some of my fellow conspirators and allies are here, and that gives me great joy. The point is, unless you interact with friends and then talk to them freely, they stand by you in a crisis or in any contingency. So I mean, it's not for me to advise you. Friends mean a lot, and they'll stand by you anytime you want them. That's why this volume, there's a whole chapter in my autobiography which I wrote last year, whole chapter on my friends. C.D. Gopi figures in one, because his house for you, I'm sorry, deviating. His house is called Cover Drive in Kuno, and a shot for which, a stroke for which he is very well known. I still tell him that in one match at MCC, in a league match, he scored a boundary of every 6 ball, all the 6 balls in an over. The unfortunate bowler, I think, was A.R. Krishnamurthy of MRC. He doesn't remember, I remember as a young man. So he's so modest. His house is a treasure house for information. Camilla and his daughter, they're all great friends. That's why, as friends, it gives me new energy, new enthusiasm, new zest to live. Thank you very much once more for coming here, and I hope we'll get to see you more often than this. Thank you very much.
I now request Shri M.K. Narayanan to release the book and hand over a copy each to Mr. Gandhi, Gopal Krishna Gandhi. Mr.
Dignitaries spread all across this room and not merely on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, I never thought that Raghavan would ever invite me to release his book. In the years that Raghavan and I used to work together, I think we never agreed on anything. To my credit, I must say that I gave him an outstanding report. Did he deserve it? Of course he did. But I know that he does not forget old problems and insults, and I thought that he would never invite me to release the book. Probably he couldn't find anybody else. That can be the only reason. But I thank you, Dr. Raghavan, for inviting me, along with Mr. Gopal Gandhi, Mr. Alexander, and Mr. Sivanandhan, to participate in today's seminal event. I use the word seminal very carefully. For this book that we are launching today, the book on criminal justice, A Reality Check, is indeed a monumental work and deserves all the credit that anybody could give. This, as Raghavan himself mentioned, is basically a compilation of articles written by him in the Hindu and Frontline, spanning nearly 3 decades. It provides an encyclopedic view of not merely the criminal justice system, but other aspects as well, concerning the police, maintenance of law and order, intelligence, terrorism, corruption, and human rights. If he has written on other aspects, in the light of what he knew about intelligence, this is probably more storytelling than reality. Because I don't think he ever imbibed intelligence in the years that he was the Intelligence Bureau. And I have a fellow colleague, Mr. Narayanan, who will agree with me. But he's a great man. We can overcome all the odds. And what he has written in the book on intelligence is worth study by any intelligence professional who has been in the profession. Seldom have so many aspects been covered in a single volume. As I said, coming as it does from a dedicated professional who has spent a lifetime on many, if not all these aspects, it demands very careful reading. I must warn all of you, however, at the very outset, that the book is no easy read. The subjects are quite disparate, even though they pertain to criminal justice. In essence, the book is a reflection of the scholarship and practical wisdom of an individual who, after joining the Indian Police Service, appeared to dedicate himself to improving and enlarging the scope of police work. As I mentioned at the very outset, I have been privileged to know Dr. Raghavan for many years. He had worked with me during some part of this period. Yet, all through this period, I've always wondered whether Raghavan, though he had joined the IPS, really wanted to be a police officer, or whether he would have much preferred to pursue other intellectual opportunities. During the years that we worked together, Raghavan kept battling these two goblins, unsure where he should be, and he never quite decided what he wanted to be. There were periods in his working career when he preferred to take time off from his professional duties to undertake new courses of study and earn more degrees. Returning to the police profession from time to time, he seemed to behave as if time stood still and continued to work as if nothing had happened. With this book, I am convinced, however, that he has finally made his choice, namely that he would much prefer to be recognized as a scholar, cloaked in the garb of a police officer, than anything else. The fact that despite such ambivalence, he managed to achieve heights of glory in a demanding profession speaks volumes of the man, his abilities, his competence, and his tenacity of purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an interesting book. The style adopted is rather unique in that Raghavan has attempted to resurrect history from a series of articles that he written over 3 decades, given them suitable chapter headings under different labels. Clever editing has made for riveting results. The book is an inspiration for others who have written similar pieces over the years to try and emulate, but I doubt whether the end result would be the same. This volume of essays and articles covers a period of more than 3 decades. Unlike his earlier memoir, there are no personal vignettes. It is as dry a compilation as one could wish for. What is interesting, if not absorbing, however, that his perspectives appear to change and the focus tends to shift from time to time. From organizational problems of the police to the difficulties faced in maintaining law and order, the intricacies of crime and criminal investigation, to handling terrorism, corruption in public service, and the criminal justice system, the compendium covers a wide arc of subjects and situations, but in very, very detailed manner. Some items are, without doubt, controversial. Many in particular may have hoped while reading the small print, or at least hope if they have not read it, the small print in the chapter on CBI days with hawk-eyed interest, hoping that much would be revealed, but Raghavan gives little away. Some aspects do, however, merit a relook, given the passage of time. But what is unmistakable is that the writer displays an unflagging concern for presenting facts solely as he saw it, and within the historical context of the time, without being concerned about anything else. It does also appear that his views do not shift too much over time, for there is a common thread that runs through most of the pieces, which pedantically seem to suggest that there is only one truth, the truth that he sees it, and none other. This is particularly true when he deals with the CBI, which he headed for a period of slightly over 2 years. On the dais here today, there are 4 of us, apart from Dr. Raghavan, and each one will possibly speak on some aspects of the book. For my part, I propose to limit myself to the chapters on terrorism and intelligence. While Dr. Raghavan has been faithful as far as the narrative is concerned, With regard to these two items, I feel that he could have edited some of this in the light of his later years of service and experience and the vantage point he had occupied in subsequent years. This could have been done by adding an epilogue at the end of each chapter to enable the readers to better understand the nature and content of these problems. Speaking for myself, I believe that what Raghavan has done is to open our eyes to the fact that a chronology of events written at the time events occur provide invaluable insights into situations which are often ignored when people write their biographies or autobiographies. History is always relevant. No incident or event takes place in a vacuum. The period in which events take place casts a shadow of what might or could have taken place. It is from this that lessons for the future are imbibed by or for future generations. Finally, and notwithstanding what I've just said, I repeat that this is an invaluable collection of articles written over a period of more than 3 decades, a kind of history in the making. Those who have been chosen by history to play a role usually tend to write a biography or autobiographies, where facts are varnished by a desire to go down in history as having shaped the destiny of that period, mostly false. In this case, Raghavan has merely highlighted the past and the unvarnished truth of that time for anyone who may be interested. For this, I believe, and I would like to reiterate this, for this I believe future generations will thank Raghavan, raconteur, rather than Raghavan the soothsayer. Thank you very much.
May now request Shri Gopal Gandhi to address the gathering.
Esteemed friend Dr. Raghavan, Dr. Shanti Raghavan, my colleagues on the dais, by colleagues I mean those who are also going to speak today, and friends. I speak as a friend of the Raghavans and as a fellow columnist with Dr. R.K. Raghavan. Columnists write in the belief that they are being read. Readers of columns read in the belief that they are reading what is worth reading. But we have to only imagine the conversation in the editorial room where the draft edit or the draft column comes and their evaluation of what has been written to understand that columns are an evanescent breeze in the passing day of a temporary month. That is all what columns are about. Columnists take their columns far more seriously than readers of the columns do, and far more seriously than the publishers of the columns do. Publishers of columns publish columns because of the topicality of the subject, the readability of the writing, and sometimes, and I think I speak for myself, out of sheer affection for the writer of the column. Having said this, I must not fail to say that this has great exceptions. R.K. Raghavan has written out of a sense of loyalty to two things. One, to the police service to which he belongs, to the ethos of the police service to which he belongs, and secondly, to a loyalty to the greatness of India. These are the two motivations for his writing. That Dr. Raghavan has invited today, among those who are speaking, two friends of his, the esteemed Shri M.K. Narayanan, and also me, whose views may not synchronize with his, shows that Dr. Raghavan has also written completely unafraid of criticism. I do not wish to disappoint him by exempting him from criticism today. But my criticism is of no consequence. My difference is of no consequence in front of my admiration for the integrity of his convictions, for the intensity of his views, and the veracity of his writing. He does not write a word that he does not believe in. There is nothing between two lines of what may be called between the lines. Everything he wishes to say is in the words he uses. Dr. Raghavan, having joined the police service, has been through, like most officers of the police service, so many of whom are present here today, difficult times. But in his case, he has been through what can only be called the baptism of fire. He has in his person faced challenges which today compel us to recognize that police officers of all denominations and all seniorities and juniorities, and simple policemen down to the inspector, place their life on the line for us. We think of police officers and policemen as men and women in uniform with a swagger. Not always incorrect, but the fact is that they place their life on the line for us. Today I cannot but recall something which Governor Narayanan mentioned directly and also by implication. The half a dozen and more police officers who within a matter of minutes laid down their lives in Bombay on 26th, the fatal 26th. Karkare, Kamte, Salaskar, Omble, along with, of course, the Major Unnikrishnan. With 5 or 10 minutes before they were in the line of fire, they were like all of us here. And then they are gone in the line of duty. It is knowing that and having felt the scorching fire on his own skin that R.K. Raghavan has written what he has written. I salute his loyalty to his views, while I respect my loyalty to mine. And I must also say today, I must also say today something which Governor Narayanan mentioned, which is that the arc of destiny has very strange and ununderstandable deviations from its geometrical trajectory. R.K. Raghavan was meant to be what Shanti Raghavan is, namely a professor. He was supposed to be a professor, and perhaps a professor of law and professor of criminal justice. But by some quirks of those arcs, he has strayed into the police service only thanks to Frontline and Business Line mainly, and Hindustan Times partly, now returned to teaching through his columns and column writing. R.K. Raghavan in service did his service proud. R.K. Raghavan in retirement has rediscovered the professor in him. And I, as among those who sit in his class, marvel at his honesty and marvel also at the way he is able to remain loyal to the service and at the same time be so aware of its failings and flaws, never concealing any of those. I will end by saying that having spoken of divergences and differences, I must speak of one great convergence. R.K. Raghavan believes in the strength of the police service. Like all of us want the police to be strong, nobody can want the police to be weak. But R.K. Raghavan also has a streak of the thinking professor in the retired police officer. And he is unequivocal in his objection, in his rejection of the death penalty. R.K. Raghavan, your humanity surpasses your loyalty to the police service.
May I now request Alexander to say a few words?
Friends, I am thankful to Dr. Raghavan for having invited me to speak on this occasion of launching his voluminous piece, Criminal Justice Reality Check, in the presence of eminent, erudite, conventional former governors, Mr. M.K. Narayanan and Gopal Gandhi, and my esteemed colleague, Mr. Sivanandhan of Mumbai. These days, it has become customary for retired officers to pen reams of pages about their past in the service. Most of these pieces would be self-patting, exaggerated, egoistic excursions towards building an impressive image of themselves, to which Mr. Narayanan very diplomatically referred to. Very rarely, we come across a work which is academic, thought-provoking, reflective, classic, and everlasting from such officials. But this voluminous work by Dr. Raghavan stands apart from the routine biographical works of retired officers. This one is of a different kind And I must say, it is not ephemeral, but it is everlasting. This volume is the compendium of articles he had penned down the years in the Hindu, Frontline, and the group of papers. I used to regularly read his articles and occasionally interact with him to get some clarifications on the matters that he had written. I used to be impressed by his knowledge of international policing and the problems that the international police faces all over. While reading some of the articles, I could feel his pangs and anxiety, anguish at the declining standards of the Indian Police Service and its officers. He often has referred to such things. A high moral tone was the defining note of many of his articles. Hardly would you find self-trumpeting or laudatory narrative of his own ventures in these articles. If ever be anything of that sort, they were definitely few and far between, and he gave the credit in major shares to his colleagues. So much to distinguish this work from the rest of the works brought out by retiring officers. Coming to this book itself, it has 11 chapters, 144 articles, and a few biographical photographs and reminiscences. The 144 articles are grouped in 11 chapters. In this grouping, one can see the machinations of orderly and well-trained mind and sophisticated thinking of the author. I venture to say this is possible only if one has a panoramic and deep reading, assimilation of diverse thoughts and facts, knowledge of world, serious reflection, a designing mind, and a felicitous expression. Of the chapters listed out, the smallest is on intelligence failure. It has 4 articles. I, having spent many, many years in Tamil Nadu intelligence, took a fancy to read what the author had to say on intelligence failures. He has referred to intelligence failures elsewhere, and he has safely omitted about Tamil Nadu and India. Having been accused time and again of failures, it was refreshing to read what he has to say on intelligence failures. He says, I quote, "The one basic truth is we know of all failures, but not all success of intelligent organizations. The latter cannot and will not respond to all that media says about it. Ultimately, professionalism demands a low profile on the part of intelligence officers. I wish the intelligence officers take note of his advice." The 4 components of criminal justice system are the police, the judiciary, the prison, and the reformation department. All the 4 components have to strive more to ensure criminal justice today. Defective recruitment, inadequate training, unwillingness to register cases, minimizing gravity of offenses, lack of investigative skill, poor prosecution, interference from influential quarters, slack supervision, corruption, nepotism are few of the stumbling blocks in ensuring criminal justice today. the police, courts, prisons, and probation departments do not discharge the duties as they ought to. Please recall the Supreme Court recent judgment when it struck down the judgment, a favorable judgment delivered recently by a retired judge after 5 months of his retirement. And the news that case files are missing from the High Court and a judge ordering a probe into it. Now, I have to give a reality check on the criminal justice system by quoting 2 anecdotes. One, this may be something personal, but it is quotable. In 1987, one night, that was a night prior to the police budget in Tamil Nadu, a burglar entered our house and stole a golden bangle and rupees 1,500 from the purse that was kept on the table. When we got up in the morning and realized that the house has been burgled, I was ashamed and felt disgraced, for at that time I was in charge of the crime branch. I thought I should keep quiet as the assembly is in session and it may be a matter of a big controversy. I also thought that the thief may make one more attempt on the house. So I reluctantly called a crime officer and confided in him about this theft. I made a specific request not to make much noise about the case. But a thoroughbred police officer that he is, he called the crime police, the detective dogs, and the fingerprint expert. My house was literally taken over by the policemen, and I went to a corner of the house and sat reading the newspaper. Suddenly, the deputy commissioner who was on the scene informed me that the fingerprint expert had identified the fingerprint on the table from his memory as that of Thekuvai Sekar of T.P. Chatram. He is no more. The crime police of the city picked up Shekhar under trice and brought him with a stolen bangle and a cash of rupees 900. Inquiries with him revealed that he burgled since his wife had delivered a baby the day before and he did not have money for medicines. The commissioner of city police detained the criminal under Gundas Act for 1 year, as the thief had a number of convictions for motorcycle thefts. The wife of the criminal wailed before us with the newborn baby. We gave her the 900 that we recovered from the thief and also requested the nuns in the mercy home to attend on her till he returned from the prison. We became the guardians. He was released during the Christmas time. I invited him for breakfast. He said, and I asked him why he became a motorcycle thief. He said that he did not know even to start the motorcycle. He had stolen scraps of iron pieces from buildings under construction. That was his first case, and all the other cases were foisted by the police whenever they recovered a cycle by a stolen bike and whenever they have left the real accused unbooked. That's what he said. I felt so sad. I called the inspectors who did that, checked up with them, but I couldn't do much. So I said them, sin no more and get lost. Go back. That's what he said. Later, I found a job for Sekar, the Tifkuwai Sekar, as a watchman in a convent, and his wife the job of an ayah in the convent dispensary. This is one case. The second one is not so gloomy and bad. It's a bright one. And that relates to Mr. Raghavan. There's a bright picture and relates to Mr. Dr. Raghavan himself. I checked up carefully whether he had alluded to this episode, which I'm going to quote, in the book. He has not. Therefore, I have to recount and record this important fact of his life, of his professional life. It was in 1980. I was superintendent of police in Thomas Mount district for 2 months. The IGP rang up and asked me to attend a case of a suicide of a young senior actress. I reached the spot, studied the scene, and came to the definite conclusion that it was a suicide by hanging, as I noticed, besides other evidence, the streak of saliva across the chest of the dead actress. I came to this definite conclusion as I had studied in the academy and got it imprinted in my mind what Modi's jurisprudence, the Bible on forensic medicine, says in the chapter on suicide. The book would musically say, I quote, "The streak of saliva across the chest is the surest sign of suicide by hanging." This was ringing in my ears when I saw the body. After the inquest, as the police was dispatching the body for post-mortem, a pressman asked me, "Where's the body being sent?" Those days I was very bookish. A little of Raghavan was there in me. So I told him that the body is being spent for post-mortem. I quote, "to ascertain the true cause of death." This is what I said. And the body is sent for post-mortem to ascertain the true cause of death. That's what he said. Echoing, this is an echo of the verbatim statement that you find in the last column in the inquest form. The inquest form reads like this: "Has the body been sent to the post-mortem to ascertain the true cause of death?" I told the pressman, to ascertain the true cause of death, I'm sending the body for post-mortem. The next day, the vernacular press published like this: "Body sent for post-mortem to ascertain the true cause of death." All sorts of rumors born of jealousy, rancor, and malice in the city world floated in the air. The suicide became controversial. People started wondering whether it's suicide or this or that, many conjectures. It was at this time Raghavan was the DIG crime branch, and the case was transferred to his branch for a fuller investigation. Those who wanted to frame up the boyfriend of the deceased actress brought enormous pressure on him. Mr. Raghavan stood like a rock and refused to budge. When the political bigwigs pressed him further, he asked the establishment to look for another officer and entered on long leave. Registered himself for a doctorate in Karnataka University and got his first PhD. And he handsomely got his degree. Time proved the investigation upheld by him, that the investigation upheld by him was correct. The unbendingness for the right cause is the need or the hour to establish criminal justice. I firmly believe it is his standing to truth. It is his untrammeled mind in trying circumstances that has taken him to the great heights in career. After reading a few pages of this voluminous piece afresh, my esteem of the intellectual brilliance and prowess of Dr. Raghavan zooms sky high. Sir, congratulations on this monumental work. I wish many benefit by reading this book. It will take a long time to read because of heavily voluminous, but one must read this. Thank you very much.
May I now request a friend who has flown all the way from Mumbai to say a cop of enormous reputation. Thank you. Both Commissioner of Police Mumbai and then DG of Maharashtra. A great friend of mine. He's part of the family.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be here amongst such doyens sitting on the stage and off the stage. I'm like that Arjuna who's standing in this Mahabharat war that doesn't know whom to look at and what to speak. And it's a rare honor, sir, you have bestowed on me. And I cannot speak about the book and all about the policing and all because you have done much better policing and much longer policing and everything. So I'm not going to talk about policing or anything like that. I have known Dr. Raghavan when I was working in the IB. Before that, when we were trained, we were told that never be visible to a senior officer and never to be heard by him also. So I maintained that dictum in front of Mr. MKN always. I worked in the IB, but he could never locate me and he could never speak to me. So this is today, first time I have been exposed to him. And so is Mr. Narasimhan and various others. I followed the training which was given to us. And I have worked in the IB. That time, Mr. Raghavan used to be in Chennai. And he used to call me, but I had never met him. But then I used to know him since then. Later, I had the opportunity to work with him as Joint Director CBI in Mumbai. He only inducted me, and he was the director of the CBI. We are very fortunate that I have learned a lot of things about him. He's a flawless leader. As Mr. Gandhi mentioned, that he takes a stand of intellectual superiority and honesty to the core, whatever it is. So he has been like that. So all those things I have learned. I worked with him in the Madras appointed SIT about the accidental death or unnatural death of a budding lawyer. So I also used to help him a bit in the SIT of Gujarat. That is how I have been. So it's an honor that he has thought about me and called me to come and speak when Mr. M.K. Narayanan and Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Alexander are there. I hold them all as my ideals or idols or role models. In front of them to speak is a rare honor. It's a book of monumental nature, and then it covers the entire policing in all its ways, organized crime or cyber crime, cyber terrorism, intelligence and all that. He had occasion to deal with. Particularly one chapter about the Shri Perumbudur is something which is worth remembering. He was an IG who was standing there. I still remember the Hindu picture where he was standing there with all things, debris or whatever you call them as scattered there. He stood there, went through all the commissions of inquiry and did all that. So I'm not going to speak much. Suddenly, while speaking, I remembered some Sangam literature which says, Kana Mailada Kandirunda Vangoli, Tanu Madhubola Pavit, Tanundan Pollachiragai Virit Adinad Polave, Katradan Solla Kavi. So that is what I am today. So I'm not going to speak more about all this subject where Mr. M.K. Narayanan spoke. So I'm going to limit and then leave that. Then the book could have been 3 parts. Mr. Raghavan has said, I would like to help him. I want to tell all of you, most of the chapters I have read. I think I should be the one, I have the distinguished honor of having read all the chapters. Some of the things we did write together, but they are not finding part in this book. But then I had the audacity, unlike talking to Mr. Narayanan was impossible, difficult for me, not because he prohibited, he was so affectionate to me. He gave me ambur biryani when I met him last time. I had it. So, but whereas Mr. Raghavan, I could tell him, sir, this part has to be removed and things like that. He took it in good spirit. He never admonished me about giving this kind of an advice. I want to also say that his friends, he mentioned about his friends, because of him, we could meet lots of people who come from abroad who were authorities in the police, stalwarts in the police, like David Bailey. We met him in Mumbai because he had brought him. We had interaction. Or Lord Ian Blair, the Metropolitan Commissioner of Police of London. Or FBI Director Free Louis. Where do we get to meet all these people? Thanks to Mr. Raghavan, we could meet. I used to bring all the cops from the Mumbai police. They could have a free discussion with Mr. David Bailey. He is no more. So things like that has happened because of him. He had, from this high pedestal, he could come down low to our level, my level and my deputy commissioners of Mumbai police level, and be nice to them and be very, very affectionate to them. That is what made him a very, very distinguished police officer and an authority. The times of what all he has written in the book has definitely changed. Post-independence level, we had all those Sardar Patels and Jawaharlal Nehrus and various others. The values have come down a lot, so the policing also come down a lot along with the changing color of the political scenario. In Maharashtra, we had Narayanan Rane, I don't know whether you all heard about him, or the present Chief Minister, his name is Shinde. So that kind of people all have come there. So obviously the policing has been also changing very, very rapidly. So this book would help not only the UPSC aspirants, because it covers the entire gamut of policing from A to Z, but also the police officers who want to find out where should they take a stand. Much of the good people have run away to deputation to Government of India. So that is what is the thing which is happening on the ground. For those people who look for role models, this book is the one which will become a sheet anchor. So that is what I would like to mention about the books. And he has mentioned in the Friends column, he's been so kind. I was wondering as to what am I doing here? But he has written in this book, of course taken from the previous book, in the chapter called Friends, he writes so good things about me and my doctor friend, a retina surgeon called Dr. Natarajan. Very kind of you, sir, to remember us in such a monumental work. I am very, very blessed. So the last thing is that simplest possible language. When the others wrote, I used to run to the dictionary or thesaurus or whatever it is. When Mr. Dr. Raghavan wrote the article, the ideas were very, very, very simple, cogent, and practical. So the posterity will remember definitely all the cases he handled, including that Shri Perumbudur case and various other cases, and they will definitely remember. I mentioned earlier that he has covered intelligence, organized crime. Organized crime, the chapter I have gone through, he quotes from P.M. Nair's book. So mafia, Mumbai mafia, all that. So there is something for everyone who is looking for some aspect of policing in this book. Voluminous it is. It can be divided into 2 or 3, yes. And also I would like to conclude by saying that this is a priceless book. It is a priceless book because I was looking for the price in this book. I went through everywhere. How much does it cost? It is priced. It is not mentioned. So, sir, you have produced a priceless book for us. Thank you so much. And I will not speak more on the quality, quantity, of all other things about the book, policing and all that, because the other speakers have spoken elaborately on that. I would only say that it's a rare and singular honor bestowed on me. I was looking for friends. I wanted to address friends. But then I looked only Latika and Vishwanathan are the only 2 friends I have. All others are seniors here. So, sir, it's a very great honor you gave me to talk about your book. I look forward to the bifurcated editions so that we will benefit a lot. The posterity will, the UPSC aspirants or the IPS officers will certainly benefit from this, sir. Thank you so much, sir. May God bless you. Thank you so much.
May I now request my friend from the US, Kate Hollycomb, to come and speak a few words. She's blind to all our faults. She'll say only good things about us. I thought I would call her. She happens to be she lives in San Francisco. We know her for more than 30 years. She came with a study group, Colgate group, headed by Professor Skelton. And since then, never looked back. She's such a staunch friend of ours, wonderful person. She's so fond of India. Given a chance, she would demand an Indian citizenship and a room in the Woodlands. This is her favorite. Please.
Good evening. It's my great honor and my pleasure to be here among so many esteemed guests, well-wishers, colleagues, and friends of Dr. Raghavan to celebrate the launch of his latest book, Criminal Justice, A Reality Check. As he mentioned, I first met Dr. Raghavan over 30 years ago as a college student, only 3 months after the tragic assassination of Rajiv Gandhi. We are all quite familiar with Dr. Raghavan's brave and selfless actions surrounding that terrible event. And yet that was only one example among many throughout his lifetime of Dr. Raghavan's great character and integrity. In 1991, I was in Chennai, then Madras, as part of Colgate University's study abroad program, as Mr. Raghavan mentioned, where both Dr. R.K. Raghavan and his wife, Dr. Shanti Raghavan, were on the faculty as esteemed lecturers for our group. Even at our first meeting, my classmates and I were struck by Raghavan's hard-won experience and expertise, his dedication and his commitment to justice, and we were captivated by his lectures. I soon became the co-director of Colgate's India Study Abroad program and had the great fortune to live and work in Chennai for many years. During that time, I had the incredible luck and great fortune to get to know Dr. Raghavan and his lovely family more personally, in addition to continuing to admire his professional work. Over the years, Raghavan and his wife Shanti counseled me through my own challenges, both professionally and personally. And before I got married myself, I made sure that they met my husband-to-be and gave their blessings. After I stopped working in Chennai in 2000, I continued to return to India many times, even after my own children were born. Sorry. Got stuck. Even after my own children were born. And our children came to know and love Raghavan, Shanti, and their son Rajesh's family as part of our own family, even visiting them in London, and over the years sharing holidays, birthdays, special events, and the ups and downs of everyday life. It goes without saying that the heartfelt relationship that has developed with Raghavan and his family is one that is deeply cherished, as many of you have spoken about his loyalty, his commitment to friendship, and the importance of his friendships and these deep relationships. It's evident in who he is as a person. As those of you who are as lucky as I am to know Dr. Raghavan well, it is rare to find individuals of his fine caliber. Very few people in the world have impacted so many so positively, from his loving support of family and friends and his community to all he has given to the field of police work, to his country and to the world at large. The great American poet and writer Maya Angelou said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." Dr. Raghavan has shown us who he is time and time again, a man of great character who is unflinchingly honest, as many have noted, and not afraid to weigh in and ask tough questions and confront the important issues of our time, from race, caste, and corruption to the sexual abuse and assault of women and children, in order to shed light and find a new way forward that is more equitable and just. This important collection not only shares Dr. Raghavan's hard-earned wisdom and keen insight into the criminal justice system, examining the pitfalls and potential in different cultures and nations, but serves as a lighthouse in a complex world for generations to come. Especially with such ambiguity and chaos in the world right now, this volume is a light in the storm, a guide to help us find our way to a shore of more equity, stability, and peace. And we are so grateful. Thank you, Dr. Raghavan, for sharing your important work with us and for all you continue to share with the world. We're so grateful.
It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks. First of all, we are overwhelmed by the huge response to our invitation this evening. It's great to see so many of you under one roof. Actually, this function was intended to be a get-together of all our friends rather than a mere book launch. Being in your company means so much to my parents, who are still young at heart despite their advancing years. Meeting all of you gives them immense joy and satisfaction. We hope there will be many more such occasions in the future. I must thank Shri Narayanan for taking the time to come and bless all of us. Shri Narayanan played a key role in shaping my father's career. My father is grateful for all the guidance and advice received, which was of immense help during his various assignments, both at the center and in the state police. The book launched today reflects some of the knowledge and experience my father picked up working with stalwarts of the Indian police. Shri Gopal Gandhi is part of our family, literally and figuratively. My father's paternal uncle married his aunt. The two belong to a mutual admiration society. We are grateful that Shri Gopal Gandhi accepted our invitation despite his busy schedule. We are aware that he is in great demand these days to speak at several functions. Shri Alexander and Shri Sivanandhan are exemplary policemen with impeccable reputations. My father has great affection for them. He is touched by the readiness with which they responded to his invitation. They are an inspiration to future generations of police officers. We must also thank Shri R.T. Chari for his most generous support in making the auditorium available to us today. He has helped us in many ways as well. We express our wholehearted thanks to him. We are also thankful to our dear friend Kate, who readily agreed to speak today at very short notice. We are really happy that she happened to be in Chennai at this time and could take part in the function. Last but not least, we wish to record our appreciation for Shri Divakar, who owns CompuPrint in Gopalapuram, where this book was printed. We are amazed by the superb quality of his production in record time. My father, in fact, feels guilty for pestering him with so many requests at very short notice. Here again, we must thank Shri Chari for having introduced Shri Divakar to my father. Divakar has not only been brilliant in the quality of his work, but has also been generous in every way to bring out the magnificent volume. There are so many others who need to be thanked. I'm not mentioning each of them individually because I do not want to tire you after a long evening. Once again, I wish to express thanks from our family to all of you for taking the trouble to come and felicitate my father, who has worked to very tight deadlines, sometimes foregoing quality time with the family to produce what we hope will be a valuable addition to police literature. Good night.